As we begin to talk about writing augmented sixth chords, we need to remember that these are voice leading chords, and so everything we do is based on the voice leading of each individual note. So to start off with here, we're going to look at this F minor example. So first thing we're going to need is the key signature for F minor is four flats, B flat, E flat, A flat, and D flat. To start our writing, we're going to start with the 5 chord and then we're going to work our way backwards. But not the entire 5 chord, only scale degree 5, and we're going to put it in octaves. So we need octave C's for scale degree 5, and each of these notes are going to be approached from a half step below or above. The upper C is going to be approached from a half step below, which is going to be B natural, which requires an accidental to get that. The lower C is going to be approached from a half step above, which is D flat, and that note is built into the key signature. And so what we have then is our scale degree raised 4, and we call it sharp 4, just means raised 4. The fourth note in F minor is B flat, and so we're raising it to B natural. Doesn't necessarily mean it has a sharp on it, but we do call it scale degree sharp 4. Scale degree flat 6 then is on the bottom, and this note resolves into scale degree 5 downward by half step. We call this flat 6 because in F major we would have to put an accidental on it. But in F minor it's built into the key signature. Yet we will call it flat 6 because we're going to be doing these in major and minor. So the flat 6 is built into the key. So we have flat 6 going to 5, and we have sharp 4 also going to 5, and they make a wedge motion away from each other, one going down, one going up. Now for the Italian, we're going to need scale degree 1, which in our key is F natural. So this note finishes the Italian augmented 6 chord, which is scale degrees flat 6 sharp 4 and scale degree 1. The French and the German, which is coming up over there, is going to also have these same notes in it, but we're going to add extra notes to it. So this is our basic shell, which all of the augmented 6 chords have, flat 6, 1, and sharp 4, and they always resolve outwardly to scale degree 5, and this inner note is going to resolve to the other notes we need to finish our chord. So the 5 chord in F minor is C major, and we're going to need an E natural and a G. Notice that I needed to put an accidental on this E because it's not built into our key signature. Now let's move over to the French augmented 6th chord going to 5. We're going to use the same process. Let me just put a little reminder here that we're in F minor, and we're going to use the same process with our octave C's. We're going to have the note in front of it, which is B natural and D flat, which is our flat 6 and our sharp 4. They resolve out away from each other to scale degree 5. We're going to have scale degree 1 on the interior. We always have that. Now for the French, we're going to need to add one extra note, which is scale degree 2, and it's going to be a whole step above F, the second note of the F minor scale, which is G natural. And then we're going to resolve all of these to their nearest notes in the next chord, C, E, G, C. Notice that in the French augmented 6th chord, we have a common tone that moves across while this note resolves down. Now let's go to our German augmented 6th chord going to 5, but we do have an intermediate chord of a 1, 6, 4 minor. So let's start the same way we've been doing. We're going to, and I'm going to put a reminder here that we're in F minor. We're going to put our scale degree 5 octaves, and then we're going to go back to the German augmented 6th chord, 2 chords back, and we're going to put scale degree sharp 4, which resolves to 5, scale degree flat 6, which is in our key signature, is D flat already. So this B natural is going to resolve to C. This D flat is going to resolve to C as well in a wedge fashion. For the German augmented sixth chord, we need to add some notes. Now, we always have scale degree 1 for all three of them, but for the German, we're also going to add flat 3, which is A flat. So we're going to need flat 6, sharp 4, we always have those, and then we always have 1, and in the German, we're going to have a flat 3 as well, which is A flat. And this note is in our key signature, so I'm calling it flat 3 because in F major I would have to put an accidental on it. But it's already built in, so we just leave it as it is. So we have D flat, F, A flat, B natural. For this intermediate chord, we're going to resolve the flat 6 sharp 4 wedge outward as we have been doing. So we see D flat coming down, B natural going up, and we're going to go ahead and draw those in so you can see this motion away. But we're going to take these middle notes and we're going to keep them the same. They're going to remain static. So the F and the A flat just simply slide across. And this creates an F minor over C, which is our 1-6-4 chord that we need. But really it's a result of voice leading. We're not trying to create this chord. We don't think about this as much as we think about the voice leading that leads us there. So the outer notes make a wedge to scale degree 5. The inner notes slide across. Then the next voice leading is the outer notes slide across, and they're static, but the inner notes slide down into their respective resolutions. And we have an E natural here, which we need because the key signature has E flat, and we need a major 5 chord, which is going to be C major. And the reason that we have this intermediate chord is because if you went directly from this chord to this chord, you'd have a D flat going to C, and you could have an A flat moving directly to G, which is a parallel fifth, a perfect fifth, D flat to A flat, moving directly to a perfect fifth, C to G. So the composers that were first doing this in the classical era were avoiding this parallel fifth from A flat to G, so they would keep this note the same and then move it down in a delayed fashion to avoid the parallel fifth motion. That's why we have this intermediate chord. When we have German augmented 6 to 5, there's usually an intermediate chord to avoid the parallel fifth motion. Now let's turn our attention to writing in major. So we're going to take F, but now we're going to make it F major. And most of this is going to be the same, but we're going to have different accidentals. So we're going to use the same procedure. We're going to start with our scale degree 5 octaves. We're going to approach them from a half step below and a half step above in a wedge-like fashion. So I need a B natural to go half step up to C, and I need a D flat to come down a half step to C. But now I'm going to have to put a flat on that note because it's not in our key signature. So we have flat 6, sharp 4, and then we need scale degree 1 to finish out our Italian augmented sixth chord, and our scale degree 1 is F natural. And to resolve, the middle note is going to break out into E and G. But now we don't need an accidental on the third because it's built into our key signature. So the same as the minor, except different accidentals are required. Let's look now at the French augmented 6 to 5. We use the same procedure. We have our octave scale degree 5s. We have our sharp 4. We have our flat 6. We have our scale degree 1. But now we need scale degree 2, which is a whole step above 1. So we have flat 6, and we have our sharp 4, and we have 1 and 2. These require no accidentals in the middle because they're already built into the key signatures F and G. But we do have to put this flat 6 accidental there as well as the sharp 4, which we've had to do on all of them. And notice the voice leading, the wedge motion from the outer voices. The inner voice, as was the case in minor, we have a common tone voice leading from that scale degree 2, which just slides over. And then we're going to have our C, E, G, the F moving down to E, but we don't need an accidental on the E because it's built into the major mode. As we start to look at the German augmented sixth chord, we do the same thing. Let me put a reminder here that we are in the key of F major. We start at the far right and we put our octave C's. We know we need a C, E, G chord there eventually. We're going to use the same process we did before, where we come back to the first chord, where we have flat 6 scale degree and our sharp 4 scale degree, which gives us our wedge motion out, and we're going to resolve them the same way we did before, outward, and then they're going to remain static as they move across. The inner voices we need, remember, are scale degree 1 and flat 3. In this case, F is with the scale degree 1, A flat is scale degree flat 3, but we need an accidental to get this flat 3, which we didn't need in the minor mode. So we have D flat, F, A flat, B natural. Now in the minor mode, we slid these notes directly across and they were static. That is still the case, except if we did that exactly, we would end up with a minor 164, which would be F minor over C, F A flat C over C. But we want a major 164, and so we're going to have to take this A flat and make it natural. And then we're going to resolve, as we did before, down to C, E, G, so that these middle notes are now moving into their places as we move into the resolution chord, and the outer notes are remaining static.